in case you're just joining us, it's still Moneyline with Nancy. It's another edition this week. Now, let's get cracking with the agenda for today. We're looking at President Buhari's ministers and setting an agenda for them. My guests are joining me right now, Engineer Kashim Ali, former president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Nancy.
Dr. Henry Ewunonu, Chairman, Advocacy, Monitoring and Evaluation, NMA, that's Nigerian Medical Association. We're expecting the third guest, the public affairs analyst. I hope he joins us, Rabiu Tukur. So my panel this morning is a mixture of, panel. I can't have a lot of people here on set with me, but trusting that you can also contribute at home, all you need to do is to join us on all our social media platforms. On Facebook, Moneyline with Nancy. On Twitter, Moneyline AIT. On Twitter, also, you can tweet at me at Nancy. Drop your comments as well as your opinions, what you think about President Buhari's ministers and what they should start doing as a matter of urgency. All right, welcome, gentlemen, to the program, and let's get started. I don't think, we've said so much, especially before the ministers were announced. We've said so much about the timing, that President Buhari is supposed to have announced his ministers on time, 2 months after his inauguration, a few months after the election, that he should have known who would work with him. But the question right now is that since the president announced his ministers, I think through the Senate president and the Senate, I think on the 23rd of July, we've seen a lot of mixed reactions. Not just even about the timing now, mixed reactions about, oh, is this why we're waiting all this long and all of that? Let me have your, let me have your own comments about the 43 ministers.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Personally, of course, like every Nigerian, I have an opinion. But after a while, I started asking myself, does my opinion really count? Then I said, enough of profiling of people, because there are some people that we have expected so much from in the past also, for whatever reason, and they have failed. And there are some people who did not bother to hype their own profile, and people hardly knew about them who have done very well. We have had people who are very young and dynamic, well educated, who have done poorly, and we have people who were not so educated, who are also age is not to their advantage and have done well. So I told myself, look, let me be positive and believe that if the president took his time to put this list out, no matter how I feel or what I feel about them, let me just be positive and see how we can help these people deliver. Because at the end of the day, whatever happens, all of us will bear the brunt. So for me, I've stopped profiling. In fact, I stopped that a long time ago. I don't even look at people on face value again. If you tell me you are this, I'll say I do agree, but please prove it. Okay,
so what you're saying is that we should take a look at their actions or what they are going to do, and not just about who they are.
Yes.
Really.
And then we should also help, because they are holding those offices they will hold those offices in trust, and they have a responsibility to account to us. Where they do not, just like any employee, you don't expect that the employee will just on his or her own be loyal. There are some people who could be disloyal. So when they do show tendencies of disloyalty, as their employer, that is the Nigerian populace, we should also be able to reach out to them anyhow and then try to help make their job easier.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Ewunonu here. What's your own view?
Well, thank you once more for remembering health.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a bit if there's time,
yes,
when we go to sectors.
Thank you. Yes, the president's men and women. It took some time. They said 42 days or thereabout, as against the 6 months before. It doesn't matter. Government business was still running. As per the character of the appointees, the nominees, is not in our place. as professional groups. We are concerned more about learning, experience on the job, and disposition towards making healthcare delivery more accessible, more affordable, to be delivered in a prompt manner, to be efficient, to be culturally accessible, and delivered with a sense of decency and courtesy. Out of the 3 or so doctors on the list, I am not talking generally now because I don't know the intricacies of other sectors. We have Dr. Chris Ngige, who is an elder in the medical profession. We have Dr. Adeleke Mamora, Olonimbe Mamora, a distinguished medical elder who was one of the architects, draftsmen of the current National Health Act 2014, because it was one of those acts that had the longest gestation period from 2004 to 2014. So he has been one of those people that have been sufficiently disturbed about the poor state of health care delivery in the country. Then Dr. Sage Hanire, who has an experience in this country and outside the shores of this country, practiced in Germany for a long time, an orthopedic surgeon, who was also Minister of State in the immediate past dispensation. So we feel that these men, if they listen well, if they go back to the drawing board, if they partner with others, and if government generally gives them the resources they need to work with, they will do well. The minister, let it be stressed again, that at that level, we don't need the brain surgeon to become a health minister. However, we need a man who can manage men, material, but from the background of having a core understanding of that sector, an all-round understanding of that sector. So I think in the health sector, we are good to go, given the caliber of men that have been nominated so far and screened successfully.
Now, let's take a look at how we expect this president's men, as you put it, to perform. Is the system healthy enough? Is the system supportive enough for the president's men to perform? And I know why I'm saying that, because you take a look at the Nigerian system, some will say the Nigerian system is very deficient and it's very deformed, that no matter what, even if you bring a good person or you bring a round peg in a round hole, that the Nigerian system is so defected and the system will not allow the person perform optimally. What do you think?
I don't think it's that bad. Let's go back a bit in history. For those who are in the FCT, for instance, they knew that FCT situation had deteriorated to a very bad level before El-Rufai was made minister. And we had a turnaround. So people thought things could not be turned around. The things turned around. Lagos was in some difficulty also at the time and turned around. So our nation, using the same principle, and my attitude about Nigerians, Nigerians don't believe in being spoon-fed. Nigerians, even when they break laws, is because they see others breaking the law and nothing happening to them. So in that case, they were easy to manage as a people, and if leadership comes in with good ideas and ready to go through them, people will support. So our system is not that bad that will not be able to accommodate people coming. Having said that, we're talking about even round pegs in round holes. Our situation has been the way it is, in my opinion, and the opinion of the engineers, because for a nation to really develop, you look at the statistics of the indices of development regarding to infrastructure. For instance, if you want to compare Nigeria with other countries that we consider developed, it's to the extent that they have physical infrastructure, they have good roads, they have power, they have water supply, uninterrupted telecommunication system, and all the associated elements. Now, if you have such industries in Nigeria, and you now put square pegs in round holes in such institutions, you are likely to have problems.
Okay, as an engineer, looking at it from the engineering perspective, are we that developed?
We are not, because we are not simpliciter. Then the reason are that we have refused to apply the right people in the right places on a continuous basis. Even up to the last administration, there was that issue of people thinking that you could just do anything. You know, that everything at a certain level is easy to do. Like if I'm not in medicine and I become Minister of Health, I can manage that sector.
But is that really, anyway, I'll come back to that. Let me introduce my third guest. He's joining us now, Rabiu Tukur, a public affairs analyst. Mr. Tukur, thank you for being on the program today. We're speaking about the ministers. Let me know what your views are first before we go ahead.
Yeah, I think by and large, our observation is suggesting that there's going to be a replication of the experience we had in the first regime. About more than 50% of the ministers are going to be recycled, and I believe we have not seen sufficient kind of performance, though we understand the economic fundamentals were not as good, but this is where we expect the best hands, and where persons and institutions have not been able to navigate themselves around the fundamental problems that the Nigerian economy or Nigeria as a state is confronting on all the parameters that you can think of, economics and all the other various sectors. We think the pointers are very clear that the rate of progress is probably going to remain what we have seen in the previous administration. What I mean in the last 4 years. I am not very optimistic with the kind of persons and personalities that I have seen in the nomination.
Your opinion differ a bit from your colleagues before they came in.
Yeah.
You know, Dr. Ewunonu was of the view that, okay, at least in his own sector, you're seeing square pegs and square holes, as it were. A few doctors on the list. Engineer Ali was of the view, he stopped profiling people, you know, let's see what they can do. But you're also coming from the view that from the antecedents or from the past of these people, nothing significant has changed, and we shouldn't hope so much for the best.
Yeah.
I read an article on Punch newspapers, I think some days ago, and they did say President Buhari bringing yesterday's men for today's job. And it really sank, it struck a chord, yes, with me in terms of yesterday's men, today's job. If we take a look at the list, though engineers said we shouldn't profile, but these are the ministers, come on. We are setting an agenda for them. Yes, we'll set an agenda for them, hoping that they will get to watch, or the president's men, or the president's friends, or the presidency. At least they see the show and see.
I have offices for them.
Oh, you have offices for them. Okay, let me start then with you. We have 43 of them, and you know, though there were some lists that were circulating on social media, but the presidency has come up to say nothing like that. I also don't know, they are going for a retreat, I think sometime this month. And after that, the president will inaugurate them and announce their portfolios. But what's, you see, 43 men, that's men and women, I mean. But women were not so many, 7 women on the list. I'm protesting even as a woman.
It will be better next time.
But it's there already. And some people will say, I've heard some party people saying, the APC people say, oh, there are still a lot of MDAs. They will put women there and all of that. And come on. Most people defend everything, you know. But, okay. Engineer, let me start with you. Quickly. the 43 people, if I start reading them out now, we'll close the show right now. But 43 of them, we know a few of them. Can we put their names on the screen, guys, and perhaps their pictures? Yes.
Yeah, we need to stimulate growth in infrastructure, and where you want to do that, there are some people from the list that you can use to do that. For instance, you have our roads are in deplorable condition. I had cause to travel between Benin and Auchi this weekend, and I could not believe what I saw. So I decided to take it further, to take it from there to up to Abuja here. And between Benin and Okene also was a tragedy. So, and I'm wondering, what really happened? How could this have been left to be in this condition?
For years.
For years. And it's because, and one thing that came to me, I said, well, perhaps leadership did not quite appreciate the enormity of the problem. Because in road management, you have to look at the quantum of traffic on the road. It creates the significance of that road, and you devote attention to it. You can't, if you look at the number of souls we lose on such a road, that should stimulate you to do something. So why was the contract that was awarded so many years ago not brought to a conclusion? Why, and I was asking some people, does the Minister of Powerhouse travel on that road? Because what the standard practice should have been, if you're a minister for road, you travel on the road. Except where, yes, you travel on the road. If you are Minister for Transportation, you travel on the train except where there's none. But if you do that, you will experience what people are going through, and that will spoil you to do a lot more. But we now have, just about 5 engineers on the list. Unfortunately, it should be more, but it's an improvement over the last one. And some of them have...
If every profession is talking.
No, because I'm talking about the significant sectors. I mean, we are talking about infrastructure. You cannot do it except with engineers. And so if you now have engineers, managing such, it will be easier. Because if they don't do well, their colleagues, we can call them to order. But you can't call a lawyer, for instance, to order if he's not doing well in power, or he's not doing well in roads or housing. So this is the point I'm making. So if we have somebody like, an engineer doing that job, let me take you back a bit. Last dispensation, the Minister of Water Resources was an engineer. Do you know what he did? The first time he came was to do a technical audit of all the projects he had in that. He had no money to do it. He called on his colleagues. I was one of those that volunteered and helped him to do a profiling of all projects that he had. And we put them in baskets of quick wins, short term, medium term, and long term. And with that, he was able to focus. And that's why today we are going to have some improvement to power, because the Mambila, the dam, what is the name of the dam in Taraba, has been completed, yes, because it was seen as a priority. The other, so if you did that, for instance, in roads, there's no way that this road I'm talking about will not have any priority, given the amount of traffic on it and the loss of life.
I think there was a time, was it last year, Nigeria had the worst case of road accidents. There's a lot of road accident claiming our lives. Mr. Tukur, let's come to you. The 43 people on the list?
Yeah, I think...
what's the agenda for them?
Yeah, I think I would want to probably suggest that a lot of times in our history, various professionals have been placed in various ministries and the same results are what we obtain. I think we should emphasize specifically on people with impeccable records of achievement, as against being a professional, having this professional qualification or thereabout. We have had ministers that were not professionals and placed in their ministries and did marvelously well. The various ministries could equally have various professionals you are looking for in the various departments and what have you. I think what we need and what we should emphasize is that people with impeccable records of achievement should be the kind of people we anticipate and that we would see. And people that are energetic and intellectually endowed, not necessarily having the very qualifications, because emphasis on qualification, when it begins immediately, you leave the schooling system. And then when you are talking of some of the members on the list are almost 80 years old, and I think
yes, the average age is 60. I was coming to that. The median age is 60.
The median age is 60,
yes.
and so I think it should be people with impeccable records of achievement that should form the top of the list. Now, going on to into the second part of the issue is that the other observation I have is that we now have more number of ministers than what we previously had. I understand the previous administration was trying to be prudent in appointing, and I saw that the technical implication is that when you have two ministers, a minister of state, maybe two ministers of state and a minister, I think bringing the three of them could help in actually implementing the objectives of the administration, of the policy, as against having a minister because you want to save some little crumbs. When you compare the figures that you're going to save compared to the figures that actually the state is going to actually spend in actually delivering the actual service. And my expectation is that we should depart from the idea of let me have one minister because I don't want to spend frivolous resources to take care of the profligacy of the minister and what have you. Now, we need much more than that. We need a lot of people that have impeccable records of achievement on positions.
And from this 43, are you seeing that?
Now, we have seen in the media people speculating.
Yeah, but they've come out to the
exactly, and specifically the area that I am more inclined to. I mean, I wanted to see in the list some people that have very good, excellent track record in management of the economy. Yeah. I mean, when you're talking of the finance ministry, you're talking of the budget and planning ministry, and then Ministry of Investments, and I expect to see a lot of people that have very impeccable achievements that we can work with.
Doctor, let me bring you in here. You know, with what is happening in health, I must say it's a very sorry state. I don't know how you are going to paint it. However, you're masking it here. I'm disagreeing with you. Because the state of the health sector in Nigeria is nothing to write home about. You're a doctor, you know what I'm saying. For example, in National Hospital, I'm aware that in the last few months, 30 doctors have left. I'm aware that in National Hospital, core members are the ones working, out. I'm aware also in National Hospital, just National Hospital.
No,
hold on, doctor, let me talk.
You said it's not true.
No, hold on, let me talk. I even have my sister serves there. She's a copper. So I know what I'm talking about. And I know her work schedule.
Under supervision, yes.
Come on. I've also been to National Hospital. So and I know what how I came out and my treatment there. So don't even go there. When it comes to matters of health, I'm so passionate because if you want to lift people out of poverty, the three indicators are education, health, and what's the third one?
Health.
Bill Gates even told us when we came.
Human capital
yes, human capital,
education, health.
Yes,
well,
development. So you're seeing that doctors are even leaving the shores of the country. And Dr. Ngige, you said earlier, last year, or was it early this year? Was it last year or early this year? Said he's not bothered about the brain drain. They can go. He said it live on television and analyzed it here. This is someone also on the list, a professional, a core professional, whom you've talked about. So we are talking about bringing in people that will reform the system. Because the way Nigeria is now, Nigeria needs to work more than it is working right now. God forbid that you have a health challenge here. Even the president goes abroad. If the health system you're saying is so fantastic, why does he go abroad? Why does his men go abroad? So what kind of rejigging do you expect in that health sector? And let's call it spade a spade.
I have not come here to whitewash smelly thumbs. However, you see, we need to look at the whole scenario holistically. These are not, upon all the problems besetting the health sector in Nigeria, one, the most troublesome, the one that is mind-boggling, is lack of accountability.
In the health sector.
What do I mean? Accountability is not just given, it is demanded. since 2005, that the National Health Insurance Scheme was rolled out by former President Obasanjo, we have been hovering. Today, we are told that we are not, the coverage rate is less than 3%.
3%, yes.
We are looking at it, oh, it's government that should have improved it, fine and good. But what of the people that are electing these governments? Why are we silent on issues that disturb us? How many times have you seen people on the streets of Abuja protesting because of low NHS
the
coverage?
culture, come on. If
I'm coming.
If you are protesting now, before you protest, they pick
No,
you up now.
no. But I'm just
The
citing
culture is
that.
beginning
I'm
to
just
start.
citing that as an instance. What I'm trying to say is that things will not change until the ministers, the governors, it's not only we're even talking. The worst scenario is at the level of the states and local government areas. For instance, environmental sanitation. It's a role the local government should play. City, environmental, sanitation, and so on, markets, and all those, the local government. So, the men we have here, why I have hope is the 3 doctors on the list. Now, Senator Mamora was in practice.
No, but
Yes, I'm coming.
One of them
Now,
I'm
coming.
Or
A
one of these
legislator.
people. It depends on the
Because
president.
legislative component is quite important. It's very important.
Now, what do you...
Now,
no, doctor, let me halt
Yes.
you a bit, because we just have a few minutes to the end of the
Yes.
show, you know.
Yes.
What should they do concerning the health sector?
That is what I'm coming to.
1, 2, 3 things. Quickly.
Agenda setting. The people of Nigeria should say, you met this, for instance, the 2000 health ranking system by WHO placed Nigeria at position 187 out of 190 countries.
That's 187.
Out of 190. The 2015 Global Healthcare Index ranked Nigeria 140 out of 195 nations. So Nigerian people should go and ask whoever will be appointed there, with the president leading in front. From this position, 140 out of 194, that's the latest ranking. Where in the next 4 years do you want to put Nigeria? That is where, first of all, because we just came back from elections. Healthcare was not on the issue. Americans are going to elections. Healthcare is #1 issue on the front burner. So whoever we put there will still fall back to sleep. The Abuja Declaration of 2001 said, allocate so much to health, 15%. Nigerian government since 2001 has not done more than 6.9%. Is that how we will have results?
Now let me come to engineer. I'm being told we need to round off very shortly. But I'll come to engineer, because if we begin to look at these sectors, we won't even go out of here, because each sector has their own challenges. Like the health sector, which I've talked about. You see a lot of people living in droves, a lot of doctors living in droves. Whether we like it or not, it's your sector, you know I'm saying the truth. And the government is not even employing perhaps the new people we're getting now and all of that. The government may say they don't have money, but that's a discussion for another day. The health sector really needs to be looked into. It's really decayed, or it's even decayed. Whether they need to just rejig it, I don't know what will be done. But let me also come to engineer. You said state of fiscal infrastructure is nothing to write home about. I do know we need about 30 trillion naira over the next 10 years to improve our infrastructure. But what should be the agenda setting? Just give me 1, 2, 3 things that whosoever, because when we're talking of infrastructure, it's quite huge. Aviation is there, transportation, road, power, works, and housing, and all of that.
Power is a huge challenge, and it's an embarrassment to us today. And the key people in power, none of them is an engineer. The minister, the NIPP, whatever DG or whatever he is, even the permanent secretary. So when you have a situation, and these people sit down there and think that you by fiat can command things to happen, a lot of work was done on the power reform sector. There's not, what can we see today that is different from what we had before this reform came in? So we need to reorganize that place, put a square peg in a square hole there in the power sector, and they will drive the process. And what we do is to first start from doing a template of what are the requirements. Do an infrastructure assessment report, and then you know where you have the shortfall and you can deal with them. The same thing, even with the road, I've talked about it. Somebody, if I have to call him, for instance, Enrico Shola did a great job in Lagos to put, give Lagos the facelift, especially in Victoria Island. I remember there were a lot of that used to be a pit. I remember the access from into VI from Ikoyi. Those things have shown that he has capacity. He does a lot of infrastructure also in Osun State. Such a person can fit into roads because he has also this mean that he can drive from here to Shobo and drive everywhere. He can drive around the whole country if he has to. Such a person can do a good job there. But not anybody who will just be flying over and looking at the roads. That will not help. So if you look, water sector, Suleiman has done a great job. If I ever put anybody there now and he operates the data, they have a work plan which is circulated around the whole stakeholder. I do have a copy. Anybody who has that, who has a basic qualification can proceed from there. But the key sector that bring us disgrace in Nigeria, power and road. And we must put people who can deal with those issues.
Health
they are not impossible.
Health should be number one.
Yes,
really.
health.
No, but no,
hold on.
health is a bit more personal.
Yes.
But this
Everyone
one
is
is
becoming
total
more
disgrace.
yes, more personal. Let me come to Mr. Tukur very quickly. The focus for you is the economy, isn't it? And I always say the economy is all-encompassing. You mentioned the United States. When they want ever to do election, I also know they talk about health, but it's about the economy that encompasses everything is under it, whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
That's why I talk health, education, and what have you, because they are all part of it. So very quickly, your own agenda.
Yeah, I think the last 4 years, we saw a kind of a makeshift arrangement subsisting as far as the management of the economy is concerned. I know for sure that the president did not have an economic management team. Publicly, that I know.
They have.
No, they have. I knew. No, but you know.
As in the last administration, whether he
what I mean by that. What I mean by that. What I mean by that. What I mean by that is.
Whether you're not feeling their impact, is that what you're saying?
Typically, what I'm trying to say is that from my little experience, every successive regime that we had a very visible economic team. And I have not seen that visibility. It was probably the corridors that determine what happened. And I want to see, in addition to appointing whoever, I don't mind anybody being appointed in the various critical sectors, but what I want is that the president should have a team of people with impeccable experience in economic management, and that will be visibly be seen and that would visibly be tracked.
I say like a war room for managing the economy.
That's what I'm expecting, because the president could not be everything. And appointing a minister, a professional minister, does not solve problems.
Okay.
You need to have a structure that will actually monitor the performance of the ministers, monitor the key strategic objectives of the ministry, and ensure that the objectives for which they were appointed has been attained. And I think that is going to be the cardinal point that we need to have to see that objectives are achieved. It's not about the merrymaking of appointing the ministers. This is about what they have been able to achieve.
Okay,
and I think that is
my suggestion. I think we'll leave it at that now, because time is definitely not friendly with us. But we'll continue to look at it before the president puts portfolios or gives them offices. But I think the one thing that is also fundamental, which is an advice from me watching here, and from me that discusses these things and I dissect, is that the president needs to put in a KPI, key performance indicator.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, in terms of
each
minister. So it's not just, in the private sector, it's there. If you don't do well, they fire you or whatever. Yes, Obasanjo did it too.
Exactly.
You know, all the ministers, if you're not performing, we can rejig you, go to somewhere else or something.
You know, to demand accountability.
Exactly.
All right, I think that's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. I've been seeing a lot of comments on Twitter, but those comments are regarding my birthday today. So thank you. Thank you very much. All of you on Twitter wishing me a happy birthday. Yes, you know, so.
I'm not singing a birthday song for you.
Oh, you can if you want to. Very, the issues of the country has taken over for me today. But thank you all for wishing me the messages. I can see all of them. Thank you very, very, very much. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. All right, I'll be speaking with Dr. Henry Ewunonu, Chairman, Advocacy, Monitoring and Evaluation, Nigerian Medical Association, Engineer Kashim, former President, Nigerian Society of Engineers, and Rabiu Tukur, Public Affairs Analyst. That's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. Please join us again tomorrow, same time on this channel. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see.